with Jesus, taking a chapter of the Gospels each day for 100 straight days in a row or so. And tonight is Matthew chapter 11. So John the Baptist, he has been put in prison. He's sending some of his disciples just to make sure that he does have the right person, or do they need to look for another? So they ask Jesus, and Jesus says, well, the blind see, the lame walk, the deaf hear, the lepers are cured, and the gospel is being preached. Go and share that to them. And then Jesus said something about, blessed are those who are not offended because of him. If anyone is not offended of him, he is blessed. He says for them to go back and take that to John the Baptist, just to remember, who he is and why it is that all this was being done, why he had, prepared the way for Jesus. And then Jesus went and said some incredible things about John the Baptist and how mighty and powerful of a prophet he was, that he was essentially the greatest of all the prophets who had been. Said, did you go out to see someone who was, dressed in nice clothes? No, because you would find him in a palace. Do you see someone who is just bent by the wind, by every different thing, and someone who was fickle and weak? No, he wasn't that either. Did you go out and see a prophet? He said, yes, he more than a prophet. And said all these great things about John the Baptist. Said that in a prophecy that says, look, I am sending my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare the way before you. That's who John the Baptist was. And said also, if you'll believe, if you'll place your faith in this, or if you really believe it, he was the one that the Bible said Elijah would come ahead of the Messiah. Well, that's John the Baptist as well. And he said he didn't know what to think of the generation because what to say particularly about the generation. He says, well, hey, we played you a song to dance by and you didn't dance. We played you a song to weep over and you didn't weep. It's like, why aren't you doing what we say as a culture, Jesus? Same for John the Baptist. And about John the Baptist, they said, well, he's demon-possessed. That's what the culture said about John the Baptist. That's what some of the culture said anyway. A lot, thankfully, flocked to him. And then particularly, and I say the culture, it's really the Jewish leadership of that day and time in Israel. And then about Jesus, he said, well, you're a glutton and you're a drunkard because you hang out with all these sinners and carry on. That's what they said about Jesus. But Jesus is like, no matter what we do, no matter what John the Baptist did, no matter what I did, nothing would please them. That is the Jewish leadership of that day and time there in Israel. And then he spoke against some of the cities that he had done ministry in and how they had not repented. Chorazin was one of them. Bethsaida was another. And he said about Capernaum, which is where he spent a lot of time in ministry. He said, if I had done all the miracles in Sodom and Gomorrah, or particularly Sodom, as I did in you, they would have repented. They would have all repented. So Jesus was really calling these places out and just amazed at the lack of faith. And then he says some other things as at the concluding portion of Matthew 11. He says, at that time, Jesus prays. He says, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned and revealed them to infants. Yes, Father, because this was your good pleasure. All things have been entrusted to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son desires to reveal him. And then here is found some of my favorite verses in the whole Bible, particularly in the Gospels, where he says, come to me, I love this. And I've needed to hear this so many times. I needed to do this so many times. He says, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened. I can't tell you how many times I feel that way. But I hear him say this to me again, and I come to him again. Reminds me of a song that just comes you. Yeah, there's so many songs about this. Anyway, but he says, and I will give you rest. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. I don't know if you ever feel like you need that. Maybe you do. If maybe you need it right now. Maybe you need it tonight. Maybe you need it when you hear this. Maybe sometime tomorrow or some other time. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. All of you, take up my yoke and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart. That's who Jesus is. He could be as strong as the greatest strength that there is, period, end of story. But he could also be humble and gentle. And he says, and you will find rest for yourselves. And my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Look, so many people in this world, they will pile it on us. So many times you can get so many pressures from so many different directions, and I can tell you about that. But Jesus says, look, forget all the stresses, forget all the pressures, forget all the burdens, forget all the crazy, forget all of it. Come to me, find solace in me, find rest in me, find tranquility, find serenity, find an oasis in me, find warmth, find love. And it can all be found in me. That's what Jesus is saying to all of us who are believers who have gotten weary and burdened. But he's also saying that to the non-believer who's never found rest in Jesus for the very first time. He's saying, come to me and I will give you rest. I will give you peace. I will give you all that you need. I believe Jesus extends that invitation to any and all who would hear that. Even now, as you hear this right now, he says, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. There is no greater rest than what's found in Jesus. You can't find that in a bed. You can't find that in a bottle. You can't find that in a bar. You can't find it in a hobby. The rest that only comes from Jesus, you can only find in Jesus. If you've gotten away from experiencing his rest, get back to his rest again, that only he can give. And if you've never found the rest that's only found in Jesus, come to Jesus now. Find the rest that can only be found in Jesus. Hey, be blessed. Blessings.